What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another video in our series on building the ultimate Pokemon. Today we're going to be looking at the different stats that Pokemon can have and how they matter, what they do, how they work, and how important they are. So we are looking here at a Decidueye. So these stats right here that you see on the right hand side of the screen right there, you see we've got 297 HP, 250 attack, 186 defense, 176 speed, 236 special defense, and 236 special attack. Now this Decidueye has a neutral nature. If you guys want to know about natures and how they work, check out the previous video in the series. I will also link it at the end of the video. Anyways, so these are the highest possible stats for a Decidueye at level 100 without any effort value investment. So those are called EVs. We're going to make a video about EVs and IVs, but all you need to know is that this is a perfect Decidueye, so it's got all the best possible stats, right? It's got the highest HP it can have, highest attack, and so on and so forth. But what do these different stats do? So we're going to go ahead and look here. We're going to pretend like we're going to teach it a move so we can see these stats on a screen here all at the same time, pretty simply. So looking first at HP, right? We've got an HP of 297. So whenever a damage calculation is done, and let's say a move does 140 HP. So we're going to lose 140 HP here out of the 297, which is going to leave us at 157. And then of course, if you lose all your points, your Pokemon faints, and that's that for that. Next up, we've got attack. So as far as attack and special attack go, these are used in damage calculations. So you will take your special attack, you multiply that with a few things such as your level, your same type attack bonus, your Terra type or your Pokemon type, things like that. So it gets multiplied along with a whole bunch of things and then calculated against the opponent's special defense and defense. So depending on that, how that calculation comes out, this attack stat or the special attack stat are part of the multipliers that will increase the amount of damage you do. Obviously, if you have a Pokemon with really high attack, it will do some pretty good damage. But if you use a attacking move, and let's say you have instead of 250 attack, you have 125 attack, you can expect that to do significantly less damage. That's why you want to level up your Pokemon to level 100, both for in-game activities such as trainer battles, Ace Tournament, anything like that, as well as Terra raids. You want your Pokemon to be as strong as possible for those Terra raids, because at 6-star raids, the bosses are level 75, and then the bosses in the 7-star raids are level 100. So the higher your stats, the more damage you can do, the more damage you can take. Looking at defense and special defense, those work similar to how attack and defense work. Your special defense and defense are taken into consideration when the damage is calculated from the opposing Pokemon. So whenever they attack you, you will take that in consideration. For example, here Decidueye has higher special defense, so it's better against Pokemon that are more special defensive as special attackers, as opposed to going up against physical attackers with that lower defense. So the higher your defense or special defense, the more resilient you are against Pokemon that are special attackers or physical attackers. Next up, you've got speed, and speed just determines whether or not you go first compared to the other opponents. So Decidueye's speed right here at level 100 is 176. So if you're facing a raid battle where the Pokemon's speed is 180, then that Pokemon will go first. If you're in a battle against another player and your speed is faster, then you'll go before them. Now there's a thing called priority moves, and I'll try to show you guys a couple of them. Actually, do we have any? We don't have any priority moves on this Pokemon. All right, so here we have a Cerule Edge. Cerule Edge has Shadow Sneak, so even if it's slower than the opposing Pokemon, it will get to attack first, unless the opposing Pokemon also has a priority move, in which case it's a matter of who's fast. Now, some Pokemon are better as special attackers, while others are better as physical attackers, and you just have to look at your stats to see which one is higher. So here in this case, our attack stat is higher on this Decidueye compared to its special attack, so you would likely want to use it more as a physical attacker. And of course, this is not taking nature and EV investment into consideration, so of course Decidueye is a very good special attacker as well. If you made this nature a modest nature and increased that special attack, it would get a 10% increase. I believe that brings it up to 256. So there it would be higher than the attack, and it would drop the attack stat down to about 232, somewhere around there. And in that case, obviously, his special attacks would be better for this Pokemon. There are some Pokemon that have wider spreads. This is why it's kind of balanced, and here we are looking at it as with a neutral nature. So look at a Pokemon here like Miraidon. Now this Miraidon is EV trained, so its stat is actually higher than it would be. So you can see here kind of the end result. So here we have 405 special attack compared to 185 attack. Now, of course, we have a 10% increase on our stat from the nature. This is running in modest nature. The way you can tell what the nature is affecting is if you look around the little hexagon here, you can see there's a stat with an arrow up and a stat with an arrow down. The one that's got the arrow up is the stat that has a 10% increase, and the one with the arrow down has a 10% decrease. Miraidon here wouldn't be a very good physical attacker because of that. But then if we look here at Koraidon, we can see kind of the inverse here, right? Koraidon's got insanely high physical attack, but pretty poor special attack. They both have roughly similar HP, but again, you really want to cater your Pokemon based on what its stats are. Again, this one's also EV trained, so the stats are bigger than they would be if you were just looking at the Pokemon at base at level 100. But the difference would still be as significant. And again, this one is also running a adamant nature, so it's got a 10% increase to the attack and 10% decrease to the special attack. If you do need a more broad description of how the natures work, you can check out the video I will reference here at the end of the video. So you can tell that based on the stats of the Pokemon, they will be compatible with certain movesets. Now there are Pokemon that are like, for example, Decidueye, that have a very good moveset pool. They can be physical attackers and special attackers. And then there's Pokemon like Koraidon and Miraidon who have much bigger swings in their stats. I will try to make a video on how damage calculations work in Pokemon. It is a little too technical for the scope of this video, and it would take basically an entire video to go over every single factor and every single element. But at least here with the natures from the past video and the details on the stats, whether they be HP, attack, special attack, defense, special defense, you guys can understand how it works and what you should be focusing your Pokemon on. So if you have a high attack stat, I wouldn't be using special moves. If you have a high special attack stat, don't be using physical moves, because you're going to be shortchanging yourself in the amount of damage output you can put out. And then also beware that if you are a special defensive Pokemon and you have very low defenses, don't go into a raid that has high physical attack stats, because they're going to chew down through your health a lot more, because in the damage calculations your resistances will be lower. Even if you take neutral damage to the Pokemon, or not super effective damage, or maybe you resist it, you'll still take more damage than you would normally if you were facing a Pokemon with the same situation but a different stat. All right, and here I'm showing you all an example of some Decidueye stats. So here you can see we've got our HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed kind of shown here. So you can see the max stat there being the middle number, so 297 HP. All these stats you see there in that middle column are the same stats you saw on my Decidueye that I showed you guys that had a neutral nature, and that is because it has perfect IVs. So a Pokemon with less than perfect IVs will have somewhere between, for example, 266 and 297 HP. Versus as well, then looking at attack, if it doesn't have a perfect attack stat, it'll be somewhere between 219 and 250. Again, this is with a neutral nature. Obviously, if it has an adamant nature, it would be somewhere around between 230 something and about 275. But one thing you guys might want to notice here is with these stats, I did the calculations. You can see that the bigger the stat, the lower the variance. So for example, 266 to 297 HP is only about a 10% variance, versus if we're looking at a 155 on the defense to 186 on the defense, you can see that's about a 17% variance, and that's one of the highest variances you have here on this Pokemon. And so knowing that the higher the stat, the greater the variance, so the more importance there is on the stat being as good as possible. Like I said, we're going to make a video on IVs and EVs, one video for each, because they're both very complicated and do involve quite a bit of detail and explanation. But I wanted to show you guys this as an example of a range outside of just showing you a perfect decision one. All right, guys, and with that being said, if you enjoyed the video and you found it useful, do consider subscribing, as I will make more content just like this and continuing our Ultimate Pokemon building series. I have plenty of Scarlet and Violet tips and tricks and raid builds, as well as some BGC content. If you'd like to support me on a more personal level, consider becoming a Patreon. Also, if you're looking for a community of gamers who also love Pokemon and want to play with each other and share a good time talking about Pokemon and playing the games, consider joining my Discord server. The link to the Discord and the Patreon are down in the video description. I want to thank you guys for coming and watching the video. If you want to learn more about Pokemon Natures, check out the video on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video or our next live stream.